With data annotation, we can have custom name for table and column. How can we do the same with Fluent API? You can see everything we have to do is inside on model creating. And in there we will use the model builder.entity. Then we have to define which entity we are working on. And after that we have all the helper methods. To rename a table, we have .toTable. To rename a column, we first have to identify that property using the dot property. And after that, we have the has column name. Let me switch back here and I will open book detail. First, we need to add this to our DB context. So let me copy the book detail that we have here. And the model here is Fluent _ book detail. And for name, let me use book detail _ Fluent here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename that to be Fluent _ book details. To do that, we have the on model creating and we will use the helper methods right there. Let me move everything down and on model builder.entity, what is the entity we are working on? That is book detail. On that entity, we have .toTable and we need to write the table name that we want, which is Fluent _ book details. So here the default name should be book detail _ Fluent, but in Fluent API, we are defining the final name that we want. This will take preference over the default name that is defined in the DB set. So that looks good. Let me rename the number of chapters to something shorter. So model builder.entity, which is book detail. And we have to find what property we are working on there. We'll use link here. U goes to u dot number of chapters. And we have the has column name there. We can write the name that we want, which we will rename to number of chapters. Perfect. Now let me see if that works. We will have to add a migration to check that. We will call it add Fluent _ book detail to DB. Whoops, I made a spelling mistake. I can remove migration and add it one more time. Perfect. Let me add that. It is Fluent, not client. And perfect. And right here it looks odd because right here it is renaming the table book details to Fluent _ book details. That should not happen. Also, if you scroll down, it is creating book detail _ Fluent. Something is not right here. We have the DB set, looks good. Whoops, by accident the entity I defined as book detail, it will be Fluent _ book detail. So of course that is messed up. We need to remove the migration. Perfect, that is done. We can add that one more time here. And let me examine this time. Much better. It is creating Fluent _ book details and it has the primary key. So right here we are using data annotation. I do not want that. But if we have to remove the migration, we cannot remove the key and required and then remove migration. If we do that, we will run into an error message because the Fluent book detail now does not have a primary key. You can see it requires a primary key. So let me define that back here and remove the migration. Perfect, migration is removed. Now I can remove these two things and we need to see how we can actually define primary key and required using Fluent API. Let me do that in the next video and then we can confirm everything together.